In the small, unremarkable town of Willow Creek, the stories whispered among the teenagers were mostly mundane, classic tales of high school rivalry, locker room pranks, and summer flings. But there was one story that sent shivers down their spines and had everyone casting sidelong glances at the woods after dusk. It was the tale of the Rake. A group of friends, Maya, Jake, Lily, and Daniel, had grown up together, and over the years, they'd heard the adults murmur about a creature that lurked in the shadows. It had the appearance of a gaunt, humanoid figure, with pale skin stretched too taut over its bones and long fingers tipped with razor-like claws. Some claimed to have seen it at the edge of the woods during late-night bonfires, while others swore they'd woken up to find it watching them from the foot of their beds. The creature, they said, fed off the fear of those it preyed upon. As Halloween approached, a dare was formed among the friends. They would venture into the woods after dark, despite the warnings and increasing tension among the townsfolk regarding disappearances in the area. The thrill of encountering the Rake sounded too good to resist after weeks of boredom. On Halloween night, the friends packed flashlights, a camera, and an old picnic blanket, something to sit on while they awaited potential ghostly encounters. The moon was full and cast eerie shadows through the trees, creating a perfect ambiance for adventure. They navigated the familiar paths, their hearts thrumming with dread and excitement, until they reached a clearing where the trees stood thick like sentinels. "All right, here we are," Jake declared, trying to mask his nerves. "Let's set up camp." The girls exchanged glances, nervousness creeping into their smiles as they spread the blanket on the ground. They turned on the flashlight, illuminating the area and creating dancing shadows that played tricks on their minds. As they settled in, Lily proposed a game of truth or dare, but every answer was punctuated by an inching discomfort when a twig snapped in the distance. The laughter was strained, and their eyes darted anxiously around the clearing. Half an hour in, Daniel stood up, saying he needed to check out a sound he heard. With a laugh, he grabbed the flashlight and whispered, "I'll be back before you can say Rake." The others chuckled nervously, but when he walked into the darkness, concern squirmed in Maya's stomach. "Should we call him back?" Maya asked, her voice trembling slightly. Jake waved his hand dismissively. "It's just Daniel being silly. He'll be fine." 30 minutes slipped by, and Daniel still hadn't returned. The laughter faded, replaced by a heavy silence that pressed down on them. I think we should go find him," Maya insisted, her heart racing. The fun was fading quickly. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the trees loomed like monsters, their gnarled branches clawing at the sky. Every creak and rustle felt alive, a palpable tension hanging in the air. "Daniel," they called out, the sound lost among the darkness. The deeper they went, the more the light from their flashlight felt inadequate against the vast shadows. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a clearing that felt unfamiliar. The air turned cold, and the once sharp sounds seemed to dull into an eerie hush. "What's that?" Lily whispered as her flashlight caught a glimpse of something lying amidst the leaves. There, in the center of the clearing, lay Daniel, motionless. "Maya!" Jake shouted, rushing forward. But as they approached, Daniel's face twisted in a familiar expression of terror. His eyes were wide, mouth agape as if he had been screaming. The other friends froze, paralyzed by fear. Just then, a scraping sound echoed from behind them, sending shivers up their spines. "Lily, we need to go," Jake urged, but she stood rooted in place, unable to tear her gaze away from the shadow deepening at the edge of the clearing. The creature emerged, pale and thin, resembling more a nightmare than a man. Clawed fingers stretched out toward them as its hollow eyes glinted with malevolent hunger. Panic ignited when Lily screamed, breaking the spell of horror that held Maya and Jake captive. They turned to run, but the Rake was faster, slinking through the darkness with a grotesque grace. They could feel its breath on their necks, hot and rancid. Desperately, they fled as branches whipped against their cheeks, the path twisting unexpectedly in the chaos. Maya stumbled, and in a moment of desperation, she turned to face the nightmare behind them. "Go. Just go," she shouted, shoving Jake forward, her mind racing with thoughts of how to save her friends. The Rake's head tilted, a sickly grin stretching across its face, and she felt a horrible compulsion to succumb to the dread pressing against her heart. But then, The determination surged through her veins, and she bolted toward a tangle of trees, where the ground sloped toward the river. She thrashed her way through the underbrush, knowing they might be able to lose it in the water. Just as they reached the riverbank, Maya turned, breathless. The rake paused at the edge of the trees, its elongated limbs stretching impossibly toward her. The air crackled with the tension of fear, and in that moment, Maya felt a strength surge through her as she screamed, "Stay back." Miraculously, the creature hesitated, as if processing her defiance. It screeched, a sound that echoed in the night, more horrific than any nightmare. Taking an opportunity, Maya plunged into the chilly water, splashing wildly until she felt hands grasping her from behind. It was Jake, dragging her back to the bank. They both turned to find Lily, who had somehow made it to safety, pulling at Daniel's limp form. Every instinct told them to help their friend, but the rake had not followed them into the water. It seemed bound by some ancient rule. They could do little else but watch, hearts shattering as the four of them stood on the bank, trapped in their worst fear, a friend lost while they remained alive. The rake skulked back into the night, leaving only silence behind. Maya, Jake, and Lily never spoke of that night again. Daniel's disappearance became another cautionary tale in Willow Creek. The woods were deemed off-limits, and the rake became an unspoken guardian of the deep, a menace that would forever haunt the remnants of laughter under the moonlight. A reminder that some horrors are not only tales but chilling truths waiting to be penned by the recklessness of youth.